Hello. In this video, we are going to calculate the sum of all the elements in a list. We're going to do this in JavaScript, but the theory that I'm talking about here can be applied to any other coding languages such as Java or Python or C. The bigger idea we're looking at here is how do we use a loop structure to access each element in a list. So for example, if our list contains these integers 4, 7, 9, 10, and 11, we should generate 4 plus 7 plus 9 plus 10 plus 11, which will give us 41. So the form of the solution here is a single loop. So we only require to do this a single loop, and that single loop is going to go through each element in the list. So remember, when we think about lists, we want to think in terms of elements and indexes. So this list has 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 elements. And the indexes, starting at 0, are 0, 1, 2, 3, and 4. So this is very similar to those of you who have taken function notation in math. If we want to access a specific element in the list, we would say list at, and we're going to ask, for example, list at 1 is going to take the first index, which is 7. So that's 7. So this is said list at 1 is 7. Okay, so let's go through this. So let's just start by taking this code and let's just talk about how to run it. To run some JavaScript code, usually we need to set up a web page and we can run it as a script. But what I'm going to do for the sake of this is I'm simply going to take the code and copy it and then run it in the console inside my browser. So I can do that simply by pasting it here and hitting enter, and then it will execute it for me. So let's go back and talk through it. Oh, that is the wrong file. There we go. So the first thing we do is we declare and initialize sum to 0. So this is going to keep track of our sum. And then we set up our loop. And our loop is going to go through each index of our list. So when we think about loops, we talk about the count, the check, and the change. So I gets set to 0. So that's the count. And then we're going to continue to loop as long as I is less than the list.length. Now there could be a temptation here to say I is less than 5 because our list has a length of 5. But we want to avoid that because if I added another number here, the length is going to change. So we always want to have the programming language calculate the length for us. And our change is we are going to increment by 1 each time. And so now inside the for loop, we are going to take, say, the sum is equal to the sum plus list at I. And this is what actually adds the current list element. And then we print it out. And that's how you would write a loop to calculate the sum of all the elements of a list. Now let's just trace this to make sure we understand it. So what does this look like, our loop? This is called a trace table. So when we start the loop, I gets set to 0. And what we do is we say, is 0 less than 5? Because remember, there are 5 elements in this list. So since that's true, we run the loop. And we say the sum is the sum, which is currently 0, plus the list at 0. So that's going to be 0 plus 4, which is 4. So that's the first time the loop is run. So we apply the change. And the change is we add 1 to I, so we get 1. And we say 1 is less than 5. That's true, so we run the loop. So now, the sum, which is currently 4, plus list at 1, which is 7, gives us 11. And I becomes 2. And 2 is less than 5, so we run the loop. And so our sum is 11 plus list at 2, which is 9, giving us 20. We apply our change. I becomes 3. 3 is less than 5, so we run the loop. So sum, which is 20, plus list at 3, which is 10, gives us 30. I becomes 4. And 4 is less than 5, and we run the loop. So the sum, which is 30, we add list at 4, which is our element at index 4, and we get 41, and I becomes 5. Is 5 less than 5? That's false, and we exit our loop. So this is your basic structure for looping through a list and adding the elements. And we'll run it one last time for good luck. And there it is. I hope this video helped. If you have any questions, don't hesitate to ask.